Impossible fuel that turned the P-51 into a speed demon. P-51. 490 miles per hour on impossible fuel. Introduction: a crisis in the skies of Europe. Autumn of 1943 painted a grim picture across the European theater. American bomber formations, the very backbone of the Allied daylight strategic bombing campaign, were returning from their perilous missions over Germany with staggering, often catastrophic, losses. The vast, unblinking skies above the Reich had become a gauntlet of flak and relentless Luftwaffe interceptors, and without an escort fighter capable of matching the colossal range of the B-17 flying fortresses, the entire concept of daylight bombing was teetering on the precipice of failure. Each returning formation, often little more than a shattered remnant of its former strength, brought with it stories of unimaginable terror and loss. The morale of the bomber crews, though resolute, was being stretched to its breaking point. The numbers were horrifying. The infamous raids on Schweinfurt and Regensburg stand as chilling testaments to the cost of unescorted deep penetrations. On August 17, 1943, during the first Schweinfurt-Regensburg mission, the USAF lost 60 B-17s out of 376 dispatched, with hundreds more damaged. The second Schweinfurt raid on October 14, 1943, dubbed Black Thursday, was even more devastating, claiming 77 B-17s out of 291, with another 121 damaged. These weren't mere statistics. They represented hundreds of young lives extinguished in fiery explosions, thousands of bullet holes tearing through fuselage and wing, and the agonizing dread that permeated every pre-flight briefing. The sight of friendly aircraft blossoming into infernos, or spinning helplessly into the unforgiving landscape below, became an all-too-common nightmare for those who survived. One B-17 pilot's chilling recollection perfectly encapsulated the desperation of the moment. "We watched our friends fall, Messerschmitts circling like sharks. Where were our fighters?" This wasn't a question of courage. It was a desperate plea for protection, a cry for parity in the brutal aerial arenas high above enemy territory. The bomber crews knew with stark certainty that if no answer was found, their days were numbered. The mighty flying fortresses, designed to absorb punishment, were simply too vulnerable, too slow, and too exposed without a guardian angel by their side. Against this backdrop of despair, a glimmer of hope emerged with the appearance of the P-51 Mustang. Initially developed for the British, this sleek, elegant fighter showed immense promise. Its revolutionary laminar flow wing design offered unprecedented aerodynamic efficiency, hinting at impressive range and speed. Yet, even the early Mustang, for all its potential, lacked that one final, decisive ace up its sleeve, a trump card that would elevate it from a promising contender to the undisputed king of the skies, capable of dominating the Luftwaffe deep within its own territory. It had the range, it had the looks, but it didn't yet possess the raw, unadulterated performance to fully assert its dominance over the battle-hardened German interceptors. Chapter 1. The Birth of the Mustang, a British heart in an American body. The P-51 Mustang, destined to become one of the most iconic and decisive aircraft of World War II, did not begin its life with such illustrious prospects. In its initial incarnation, powered by the American Allison V-1710 engine, it was largely relegated to ground attack and low-altitude reconnaissance roles. While certainly a capable aircraft for its intended purpose, it struggled significantly at higher altitudes, where the crucial air battles for supremacy were being fought. Its performance above 15,000 feet was considered underwhelming, and it seemed unlikely to ever challenge the high-flying German interceptors that were wreaking havoc on Allied bomber formations. The Allison Mustang was, in essence, an overlooked thoroughbred whose true potential remained untapped, a promising design held back by the limitations of its power plant in high-altitude combat. However, a remarkable twist of fate, driven by the urgency of wartime innovation and a stroke of engineering genius, would utterly transform the P-51. This pivotal moment occurred when British engineers at Rolls-Royce, having observed the Mustang's inherent aerodynamic excellence during tests at their Hucknall facility, made a fateful and ultimately revolutionary decision. They recognized the brilliance of the airframe, particularly its innovative laminar flow wing, and immediately grasped its latent capabilities. It was a classic case of seeing beyond the obvious, of understanding that a great chassis was simply waiting for the right engine to unlock its full performance envelope. The problem was not the airframe itself, but its current heart. The solution was audacious and brilliantly simple. Install the legendary Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, a power plant already proven in the Spitfire and Hurricane, into the P-51's sleek fuselage. This was no minor modification. It was a complete transplantation of the aircraft's core. The Merlin, with its advanced two-speed, two-stage supercharger, was specifically designed to maintain power at high altitudes, precisely where the Allison engine faltered. The decision was born out of a desperate need to find a long-range escort fighter and an intuitive understanding of engineering synergy. This wasn't merely an upgrade. It was a reimagining, a fundamental reengineering that would utterly redefine the aircraft's performance characteristics. This bold move fundamentally altered the Mustang's high-altitude performance, transforming it from a promising but limited fighter into a potential savior of the skies. Suddenly, the P-51 could climb faster, fly higher, and maintain its speed and maneuverability at altitudes where it had previously struggled. The Merlin engine, a marvel of British engineering, breathed new life into the American airframe, creating a hybrid that combined the best of both worlds. The aerodynamic efficiency and range of the North American design with the high-altitude power and reliability of the Rolls-Royce engine. It's a little-known fact that the initial Allison-powered Mustang, known as the P-51A or Mustang I, had a somewhat different appearance. Its original design featured a radiator inlet located in the nose, a configuration that, while functional, was aerodynamically far from ideal. This early arrangement contributed to drag and was less efficient for cooling the engine. The radical changes to the aircraft's appearance, the sleek, iconic profile we now associate with the P-51, came about directly from the integration of the Merlin engine and the subsequent redesign. The characteristic chin radiator scoop, placed under the fuselage further back, became a defining feature. This relocation was not just about aesthetics. It was a triumph of aerodynamic engineering, improving airflow and reducing drag significantly, thereby contributing to the Mustang's incredible speed and range, coupled with the introduction of the teardrop-shaped bubble canopy, which vastly improved pilot visibility. These modifications created the truly iconic silhouette of the P-51D, the definitive version that would dominate the European skies. This powerful symbiosis, the marriage of an American airframe and a British engine, stands as a profound example of ingenious improvisation forged in the crucible of war. It was a testament to Anglo-American cooperation and a brilliant demonstration of how, under immense pressure, engineers could identify latent potential and combine disparate elements to create something far greater than the sum of its parts. The P-51, with its British heart beating fiercely within its American body, was no longer just another fighter. It was a symbol of hope, a flying embodiment of the idea that the best solutions often arise from unexpected collaborations, all united by the singular, overarching goal of achieving victory in the skies. Chapter 2. The glass ceiling, the problem called detonation. Even with the brilliant integration of the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, transforming the P-51 into a truly formidable high-altitude fighter, a fundamental and persistent problem remained: a glass ceiling that threatened to limit its ultimate performance. This wasn't an issue with the engine's design itself, nor with the aircraft's aerodynamics, but rather with the very substance that powered it: fuel. The best engine in the world, no matter how meticulously engineered, demands the best fuel to unlock its full potential. Without it, Even the mighty Merlin was susceptible to a crippling phenomenon known as detonation. At its core, a piston engine operates on a precise, violent ballet of compression and combustion. Fuel and air are drawn into a cylinder, compressed by a piston, and then ignited by a spark plug. This controlled explosion pushes the piston back down, generating power. The compression ratio, the ratio of the volume of the cylinder with the piston at its bottom dead center to the volume with the piston at its top dead center, is critical. A higher compression ratio generally means greater efficiency and power. However, as the air-fuel mixture is compressed, its temperature rises dramatically. The supercharger, an essential component of high-performance engines like the Merlin, further increases the pressure and density of the air entering the cylinders, boosting power at altitude. But this also significantly increases the temperature and pressure within the combustion chamber. The problem arises when this finely tuned process goes awry. Ideally, the spark plug ignites the mixture, and a controlled flame front propagates smoothly across the cylinder. Detonation, however, occurs when, under extreme heat and pressure, parts of the unburnt fuel-air mixture spontaneously ignite before the flame front from the spark plug reaches them. This creates multiple, uncontrolled pressure waves that collide within the cylinder, resulting in a sudden violent pressure spike, a devastating shock wave. It's not a smooth burn but an explosive hammer blow against the piston and cylinder walls. For pilots and mechanics, detonation was an absolute nightmare. The telltale sign was a distinct, sharp, metallic pinging or knocking sound emanating from the engine, a sound that struck fear into the hearts of anyone who heard it. This wasn't merely an annoying noise. It was the engine crying out in distress. The consequences of prolonged or severe detonation were dire. The uncontrolled explosions could rapidly overheat cylinder heads, burn through pistons, shatter spark plugs, and even cause connecting rods to fail, leading to catastrophic engine failure in a matter of seconds. In the heat of aerial combat, where milliseconds decided life or death, an engine crippled by detonation meant certain doom. A fighter pilot reliant on every ounce of power to escape a German ace or press an attack would suddenly find their aircraft losing speed, altitude, and responsiveness, becoming an easy target. Among the squadrons, a grim, dark humor often served as a coping mechanism for the ever-present threat of engine failure. A common joke circulated among pilots: "Heard a knock in the engine? Don't worry, it's just asking to come out." Behind this morbid jest lay the very real and terrifying horror of their predicament. Every unexpected sound, every subtle vibration, could be the precursor to a catastrophic event. Pilots learned to listen intently to their engines, developing an almost symbiotic relationship with the Merlin's hum, constantly vigilant for the telltale signs of trouble. Chapter 3: The Alchemy of Victory, the Secret Recipe of 150 Grade. The pervasive problem of detonation, a constant threat even to the Merlin-powered Mustang, presented a critical hurdle that demanded an equally revolutionary solution. The engineers knew that merely having a powerful engine wasn't enough. They needed a fuel that could withstand the extreme pressures and temperatures required to unleash its full, uncompromised potential. This challenge fell squarely into the laps of American petrochemical engineers, who embarked on a clandestine quest to create what many considered an impossible fuel. Their mission was clear: develop a gasoline with an unheard-of resistance to pre-ignition and detonation, allowing the Merlin engine to be pushed to its absolute limits without self-destructing. The answer lay in a highly volatile and toxic substance, tetraethyllead, TEL. For decades, TEL had been known as an effective anti-knock additive, dramatically increasing a fuel's octane rating, a measure of its resistance to knocking or detonation. Standard 100-octane aviation fuel, the highest grade widely available to the Allies for much of the war, contained approximately 0.5 milliliters of tetraethyllead per gallon. This was considered advanced for its time, enabling engines to operate at significantly higher compression ratios than ever before. However, for the Merlin to achieve its true war emergency power settings, something far more potent was required. The American petrochemical teams, working under intense secrecy and pressure, concocted a groundbreaking formula that pushed the boundaries of safety and chemistry. Their solution was the ultra-high-octane 150-grade aviation fuel, a secret recipe characterized by a truly staggering concentration of tetraethyllead. While 100-octane fuel contained a mere 0.5 milliliters of tel per gallon, the new 150-grade fuel boasted an astonishing 4 milliliters per gallon, 8 times the amount. This unprecedented concentration was the key to unlocking the Merlin's latent power, allowing it to operate with vastly increased boost pressures and higher compression without succumbing to the dreaded knocking. The production of this hellish cocktail was fraught with danger. Tetraethyllead is a potent neurotoxin, and handling it in such large quantities posed significant health risks to the workers involved. The manufacturing plants were highly specialized and operated under strict protocols. It's a little-known fact that workers on these highly secretive fuel production lines underwent regular medical examinations to monitor for lead poisoning. The sheer toxicity and the meticulous safety measures required underscore the extreme lengths to which the Allies went to gain a decisive edge. Furthermore, the value and strategic importance of this superfuel were immense. 150-grade aviation fuel was so precious, so vital to the war effort, that its inventory was accounted for with greater scrutiny than some types of ammunition. Every drop was tracked, every barrel guarded, ensuring that this invaluable liquid asset reached the front lines and into the tanks of the most critical aircraft. This wasn't merely fuel, it was a strategic weapon. Whispers and rumors, as always, circulated among the airfields and ground crews. Pilots from elite squadrons, like the Green Hearts, would often jokingly or perhaps half-seriously spread tales among themselves. They'd whisper that the technicians had a special elixir, a secret, potent brew, that they reserved exclusively for the aircraft of group leaders or the most critical missions. They called it Merlin's cocktail, attributing an almost mythical quality to this mysterious fluid. These anecdotes, whether true or exaggerated, highlighted the almost magical effect this new fuel had on the P-51, hinting at the incredible performance boost it provided, even before its full impact was widely understood. The stage was now set for the Mustang to truly awaken its inner demon. Chapter 4. The Demon Awakens, 67 inches of mercury. The introduction of 150-grade aviation fuel marked the moment of truth, the culmination of brilliant engineering and chemical ingenuity. It transformed the P-51 Mustang from an excellent fighter into an airborne predator of unparalleled ferocity. This was not a subtle enhancement. It was a fundamental shift, an unleashing of raw power that changed the very nature of aerial combat. The most dramatic manifestation of this transformation occurred when a pilot pushed the engine control lever into the War Emergency Power (WEP) position while fueled with 150-octane gasoline. This wasn't merely advancing the throttle. It was engaging a specific, temporary overboost setting designed for maximum short-duration performance. On standard 100-octane fuel, WEP would produce respectable but limited boost pressures. With the 150-grade fuel, however, the Merlin engine could sustain an astounding 67 inches of mercury of manifold pressure. To put this into perspective, standard cruising power might be around 30 to 40 inches, and even 100-octane WEP rarely exceeded 60 inches reliably without risking detonation. 67 inches of mercury represented an unprecedented and sustained surge of power, forcing an incredible volume of compressed air-fuel mixture into the cylinders. The physical sensation for the pilot was immediate and visceral. P-51 pilot Robin Olds, a legendary triple ace of both World War II and Vietnam, eloquently captured this experience. When you engaged WEP, it was as if someone had set fire to the tail of your Mustang. You were pressed back into your seat, and the world beyond the cowling blurred into a streaky band. This wasn't just a metaphor. It was a description of violent acceleration, a surge of G-forces that pinned the pilot against their seatback as the aircraft leaped forward. The roar of the Merlin, already powerful, escalated into a thunderous bellow, and the airframe vibrated with the immense energy being generated. Under this colossal power, the P-51 Mustang achieved speeds that were previously considered impossible for a propeller-driven fighter. At an altitude of 25,000 feet, the crucial fighting height where bombers flew and where German interceptors lurked, the 150-octane-fueled Mustang could reach an astonishing 490 miles per hour, 790 kilometers per hour. This figure wasn't just fast. It was in the realm of early jet prototypes, utterly eclipsing the performance of virtually every piston-engined fighter in the Luftwaffe's arsenal at that time. This was far more than a mere increment in speed. It represented a qualitative leap, a paradigm shift in aerial dynamics. The P-51, once a hunter, now transformed into an elusive, uncatchable predator. With 150-grade fuel, a Mustang pilot could not only catch any German fighter, but could also dictate the terms of engagement. They could zoom past enemy aircraft, climb above them with ease, attack from a position of overwhelming energy advantage, and then disengage at will, leaving baffled German pilots in their wake. The fear of being caught by a faster, more agile enemy suddenly shifted from the bomber crews to the interceptors of the Luftwaffe. The demon had truly awakened, and the skies over Germany would never be the same. Chapter 5: Shock for the Luftwaffe. Where did these Super-Mustangs come from? The sudden and dramatic appearance of these demonic P-51 Mustangs over the skies of Germany in the spring of 1944 sent a seismic shockwave through the ranks of the Luftwaffe. For months, German pilots had grown accustomed to the performance parameters of Allied fighters. They knew the P-47 Thunderbolt was a formidable opponent, especially in a dive, and they understood the limitations of the early Mustangs. But now, something entirely new and terrifying was confronting them, fighters that seemed to defy the known laws of aerodynamics and propulsion. Luftwaffe pilots, particularly the seasoned aces who had survived years of aerial combat, began reporting baffling encounters. They would spot a P-51, engage in what they considered a standard tactical maneuver, only to find the American fighter accelerating away at an impossible rate or climbing vertically with an agility that seemed utterly unnatural. The German fighter pilots were truly astonished, unable to reconcile the performance they were witnessing with their intelligence reports on Allied aircraft. Rumors and speculation ran rampant through German airfields. A common whispered theory among German aces was that the Allies had somehow developed a new modification of the P-51. They reported seeing Mustangs with improved aerodynamics or lightened airframes, desperately trying to find a structural explanation for this inexplicable burst of performance. They searched for answers in the aircraft's design, scrutinizing reconnaissance photographs for any subtle changes to the wings, fuselage, or tail. The idea of a radical, secret liquid fuel simply didn't cross their minds. Their tactical manuals and engineering assumptions were based on the limitations of conventional aviation fuels, and the concept of a superfuel was alien to their operational doctrine. This lack of understanding placed the Luftwaffe at an enormous tactical disadvantage. The new 150-octane-fueled P-51 could not only match the speed of the fastest German fighters, such as the Focke-Wulf FW-190 and the Messerschmitt Bf-109, but could often outperform them in climb, acceleration, and top speed at critical altitudes. This meant the P-51 now possessed the ultimate tactical advantage. It could not only catch any German aircraft, but also dictate the terms of engagement. A Mustang pilot could choose when and where to fight, initiate an attack from a superior position, and, crucially, disengage with impunity if the situation turned unfavorable. This energy advantage was paramount. German pilots could no longer rely on their superior climb rates or diving speed to escape a determined P-51. Chapter 6. The Legacy of the Hellish Cocktail. The impossible 150-grade fuel, a meticulously crafted blend of petrochemical ingenuity and raw power, had an immediate and profound impact on the course of the air war over Europe. It was the crucial, missing piece that allowed the P-51 Mustang to ascend to its legendary status, utterly transforming the strategic aerial landscape. The tactical advantages conferred by this superfuel were instrumental in achieving complete Allied air superiority, a prerequisite for the success of any ground operation. One of the most significant demonstrations of the 150-grade P-51's impact was its pivotal role in Operation Argument, famously known as Big Week in February 1944. This coordinated series of deep penetration bomber raids, targeting Germany's aircraft production centers, was designed to cripple the Luftwaffe's ability to wage war. For the first time, long-range P-51s, now capable of escorting bombers all the way to their targets and back with an overwhelming performance advantage, engaged the Luftwaffe in sustained, decisive combat over their own territory. The high-octane Mustangs decimated German interceptor forces, effectively clearing the skies and allowing the bombers to inflict unprecedented damage. This operation, a turning point in the air war, would have been far more costly, if not impossible, without the P-51's newfound demonic speed and power. By the time of D-Day, June 6, 1944, the P-51, fueled by its hellish cocktail, had firmly established complete air dominance for the Allies. Over the landing beaches of Normandy and deep into occupied France, the Luftwaffe was conspicuously absent. What German aircraft dared to challenge the skies were swiftly and decisively dealt with by the ubiquitous Mustangs. This aerial supremacy was not merely an advantage. It was an absolute necessity, providing crucial air cover for the invading forces, suppressing enemy reconnaissance, and interdicting German ground movements. The P-51, and the secret fuel that empowered it, had effectively swept the enemy from the skies, paving the way for the liberation of Europe. However, the reign of this potent, highly leaded fuel was destined to be fleeting. It's a little-known fact that after the war, the use of such a toxic and exorbitantly expensive fuel rapidly waned and eventually ceased altogether. The extreme health risks associated with producing and handling massive quantities of tetraethyllead became untenable in peacetime. Moreover, the sheer cost of manufacturing 150-grade fuel was astronomical, making it impractical for commercial aviation or even standard military operations in a world no longer defined by total war. The era of the demon fuel was a temporary wartime necessity, a marvel of chemical engineering driven by desperate circumstances. Therefore, the enduring legacy of 150 grade isn't found in its continued chemical application. Instead, its true significance lies in the profound engineering lesson it imparted, that even the most brilliantly designed machine, a true engineering masterpiece like the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, requires equally brilliant nourishment, perfectly optimized fuel, to achieve its ultimate potential. It underscored the critical interplay between engine design, aerodynamics, and fuel chemistry. It proved that sometimes the bottleneck to performance isn't a mechanical part, but the very energy source itself. In essence, 150 grade wasn't merely a type of aviation fuel. It became a powerful symbol of the industrial and scientific superiority of the Allies. It represented that last argument, that decisive, cutting-edge technological advantage that ultimately tipped the scales in their favor. It was the crucial, secret ingredient that transformed the P-51 Mustang into an unmatched aerial weapon, irrevocably altering the trajectory of the battle for supremacy in the stratospheric skies above wartime Europe. Conclusion: the Demon's final flight. The story of the P-51 Mustang is one etched indelibly into the annals of aviation history. It stands as a testament to ingenious design, rapid wartime innovation, and the relentless pursuit of aerial superiority. Universally hailed as one of the greatest fighter aircraft of all time, the Mustang's sleek lines, formidable firepower, and exceptional range allowed it to dominate the skies over Europe and the Pacific. Yet, its true, almost mythical, demonic potential was not an inherent constant attribute. It was unlocked, for a critical and ultimately decisive period, by a singular, audacious innovation: the impossible 150-grade aviation fuel. For a brief yet impactful window spanning roughly the spring of 1944 through the cessation of hostilities in 1945, the P-51 Mustang, powered by this ultra-high-octane elixir, operated in a league of its own. It was during these pivotal months that the Mustang truly became the ultimate predator, capable of not just challenging, but utterly overwhelming anything the Luftwaffe could put into the air. The combined forces of a superb airframe, the powerful Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, and the detonation-resistant 150-grade fuel created an aerial weapon system that was, for its time, virtually untouchable in terms of performance at crucial altitudes. This was a period where a mere 8 milliliters of tetraethyllead per gallon represented the difference between parity and absolute dominance. It was a secret weapon hidden not in steel and rivets, but in a colorless liquid, a testament to the fact that sometimes the most profound advancements come from unexpected places. The impossible fuel transformed the P-51 from an excellent long-range escort fighter into an undisputed king, a demon of speed that struck fear into the hearts of enemy pilots and fundamentally altered the balance of power in the air. As the war drew to a close and the world transitioned to an era of jet propulsion, the need for such exotic and hazardous piston engine fuels faded. The focus shifted, and the highly toxic and expensive nature of 150-grade fuel made its continued production impractical. This moment had passed, its mission accomplished. Nevertheless, the legacy of the P-51 Mustang, infused with the ephemeral but critical power of this impossible liquid, remains. It teaches us about the relentless drive for innovation under pressure, the intricate relationship between mechanical design and chemical science, and how seemingly small advancements can yield truly monumental strategic advantages. The P-51 Mustang, already a legend, achieved its ultimate, most fearsome manifestation only when its magnificent Merlin engine was fed the demon's brew. It was a synergy that forever changed the sky of war, ensuring that the P-51's place in history would be forever linked to the secret, impossible fuel that unleashed its true, terrifying potential.